Ladies, gentlemen, lioness, lion, it's a pleasure to be here. As Jason anticipated, I'm Mauro Mele. I am the Director of Client Services at Comfone. And I have to say I'm fascinated to be here for all the discussions and the topics which I heard over these last 2 days. And I have to say a lot of topics are future-oriented, but for introducing my presentation and the topic, I need to ask you to go back to the past where all this started. Because all this, I mean, the reason why we are here, because back in the 90s of the last century, the business started and the first roaming agreement started to be signed. Why am I referring to those? Because those roaming agreements, which were structured in a way, by the way, we still have the same. They were signed on paper 30 years ago, and they were exchanged with faxes. You know faxes? Those machines as a sort of teletransport. You put a piece of paper on one machine, you get the same piece of paper far away on the other machine, well, more or less the same paper, not really. And that's how the business was run on those days, exchanging these pieces of paper. If you look inside your companies, most probably you will still find those which were signed back then. And one of that piece of paper was called a common annex. For those who work in financial clearing, they know that the Bible is actually the Annex C3.2, where the condition to settle the roaming agreement are stated there. And there is actually the origin of the problem, because it's written that on a monthly basis, we'll issue an invoice. Those invoices will be netted by each other because it's bilateral roaming, both directions, and then have to be settled. So far, so good. What happened a few years later is that financial clearing agents started to launch their services. I implemented the first financial clearing service for Comfone when I joined Comfone in 1998. So I'm a bit the cause of the problem. And the next thing that was created within those services in order to, let's say, automate those days was the concept of payment cycle. So basically, we're producing a report given to our customer. Look, this is according to what has been exchanged in terms of invoices, and calculated net offs is what you should pay. Now, the problem with this methodology, which is still used today, 30 years later, is that if you do not catch that cycle, you have to wait another cycle. So basically, has obviously an impact on the cash flow, because if the debtor doesn't pay, the creditor doesn't get the money. So missing that cycle would imply a delay, physical delay of the cash flow, and I mean, cash is at the end, I mean, money is at the end, why all this is being set up. So to make an analogy, it would be like, you know, I want to withdraw cash from an ATM machine, but I can only do that on Fridays because I have limited access to that. So this is the problem that we tried to address and solve. And what is needed? Well, the answer is very simple, which is something that we already use every day. And this is 24/7 e-banking-like services. So why not to use the same principle into the roaming business? And that's exactly the solution that I've implemented. We call it ePayments. Is an online application which is available 24/7 on Comfone online business portal. And Basically, with this application, we have implemented the principle of the payment on demand. So basically, you decide when you want to make any payments to your roaming partner, and also what you want to settle with your roaming partner. This application is accessing real-time data, so it's not a snapshot, it's not a report that by the time you create is already obsolete, because 5 minutes later someone else has settled some of those positions, so the access is continuous. Of course, is very secure, because must meet all the security of e-banking applications, because we are moving money with that. It's not just creating reports. And to do that, has to be flexible enough to make sure that each payment undergoes an approval process, and this approval process can be customized or better adapted to the internal regulation of the specific client. So we have different models from the, let's say, full segregation of duties or 4 eyes principle, which can be implemented according to each individual internal policy. Of course, the application provides a high level of automation. You can select the open positions that you want to settle, either in an automatic way, just by means of a simple click, by applying certain rules and criteria that you can define dynamically. So there's quite sophisticated piece of software behind, which is made very transparent and simple for the user. It gives you direct access to your bank account information in terms of statement of account, and does something that the banks cannot do, because we can correlate the payment information with actually all the account payable and account receivable information. The bank hasn't visibility to your, let's say, tap files. With this application, that's the level of the breakdown we can go and delete the detail. So we can associate and each single bank transaction to what has been effectively settled. Of course, anything that is done on this application is fully traced by means of logs, so it's very, very useful. Actually, Ernst & Young, which is our auditors, love this because it's very simple for them to verify our business controls when they come for the audit. So ePayments is all this and even a bit more, but allow me just to show you very, very quickly how does it work. So that is how the app looks like. This is the main landing page when we open it up. So we have 4 main dashlet configuration. We do have a summary of the positions which are still open at the point in time we entered the application. There are some commands which are activated or not activated depending on the role and the configuration of each single user, because we can clearly configure according to the roles of the single representative according to what the customer is telling us. Then we have the payment order dashlet that shows you in a very summarized way what is the status of the last order that you've done, and then you have access to the bank account information. So the process flow is very simple. It's 4 steps. First thing you do, you select what you want to pay. You don't need to care about which currency, etc. This is all done automatically by the application. You can use the selection criteria that you have pre-configured so that the app will do the work. We have other customers that prefer to go one by one and select. It's free. It's a free world. Everybody can do the way they want. Then once you have selected all those positions, then you can generate an e-payment order. This is created. And then this e-payment order goes, undergoes the approval process by means of a maximum of 3 electronic signature before it is then sent to the bank. So the execute from this point on is fully automated. as the application itself will take this order, will analyze it, and will break it down in physical payments depending on the destination. Of course, it's using all the information that we have in the database in terms of destination accounts of your roaming partners and the currency that you're settling, where to get the money, etc. So that translates in a number of orders to the bank to be executed, and then this is transferred automatically to the bank, and then from the bank we get the feedback that the payment has been executed, and that closes the loop. Very simple and very effective. The benefits are quite obvious. You have the full control of your payment. You can optimize your cash flow because you can decide what to pay whenever we want. Consider that on the bank account there are also incoming payments that are collected, so you can reuse what you are getting from your roaming partner as incoming payment, because for sure you are not only a debtor, you might also be a creditor. And then, of course, you can also decide to send back to your home account those funds whenever you want by using the same application. So, in terms of market response, we have rolled it out to all our 250 plus financial clearing customers, which they happily use it. I was surprised about that. We were some resistance in some cases because, you know, innovation is a strange beast. Sometimes it's very difficult to be very innovative because this application has been quite disruptive. To the extent that some operators were so let's say, familiar with this payment cycle that when it was challenged, they were, well, wait a second, you're destroying my garden, why you want to do that? As soon as they realized that it was very convenient to use it, there was no more problem. So I have to say that I consider ePayments like the first service, software as a service in financial clearing, and the motto that we used to launch it was, pay what you want, when you want. Time is 0. So, up to you. Have mercy.
Thank you, Mauro. Who wants to go first? Razi.
Okay, my first question related how the system or the e-payment system handling the disputes and maybe some failed payments due to any reason, how you are tackling these issues.
Okay. Due to a short time, we couldn't look to all the possible features that it implements, but in the first dashlet, which I said is the configuration, it is possible to do a number of things, including you might block payments to the roaming partner. So with a matter of 2 clicks, you must say, hey, this roaming partner of mine, I'm having a problem, a fraud issue with them, so I don't want that any payment, not even by mistake, will be produced, because maybe you're a big organization, you work in teams, so you're splitting the roaming partners in area. We can manage list assigned, and maybe this roaming manager of yours may not be aware of that case. So by setting the blocking, no payments can be, is the app that makes sure that no payments can be sent to the other side. This is the PMN block. Sometimes there are disputes on individual positions. A typical case is that there is a credit note application open. So in the criteria, which are quite extensive, you can specify that by no means you want to allow the application to select one of your debt against which there is still a credit note application open which hasn't been resolved. And that will prevent both the user and the automatic selection to select that position. Or there's the manual block where you can say, okay, I don't want to pay for the time being this particular position, and you can block it. So there are different ways of doing it.
Okay, I see also this e-payment solution is very good in case of the flat rate agreements. But what about if I have a certain agreement with a commitment or tier base, is it needs some verification and confirmation from both sides before the payment. How is handling this?
I would say this is after that reconciliation is done. So actually here we are only dealing with positions that have, let's say, so basically is invoices, or it could be discount credit notes, discount credit notes. So at the point in time it hits this application has been already resolved in the financial clearance service by itself. But go back to what I was saying before. So in case of something is still pending, the application is fed automatically by the FC system. So if there is a credit note, there is a dispute, fraud case, etc., it's possible to I mean, there are side effects on this one, of course.
Last question regarding the security. How we assure the security of the transactions and the client data for such an e-payment solution?
So the security, I mean, first of all, to arrive to this application, you need to enter into our portal, which of course has the double signature and I mean, the electronic double signatures, double authentication, etc. But then you need to be a financial clearing customer, so not everybody that has access to Pulse automatically get to the flagship application, which is not this one, but is what we call Financial Tracker. Then within Financial Tracker, we do have ePayments, which is configured only for a restricted number of people. And actually, the configuration is done directly by the customer. And this configuration is transparently shown there, so there's basically no way to arrive to that level and then have and grant yourself, let's say, the right to make payments. I do have access to the app. I mean, I'm the app administrator for all Comfone financial clearing customers. But when I enter, I have no rights, so I can't do anything. But you know, some of our people do have the possibility to see the data, but we ourselves are not authorized to do any transaction on behalf of the customers. This is one of the business controls that we have in place. And this is traced. It's traced and is visible to all the, let's say, to all the person who have access to this application. So it's also a way to check each other.
What is the underlying technology? Are you using distributed ledger technology? What is the underlying technology that you use for the e-payment?
Unfortunately, I cannot claim that we are using any blockchain or DLT. Is basically a simple database and an application built on Java that is only the front end part. So one of the personal things that the keep it simple process should be used as much as possible. So don't over-engineer a solution unless it's really needed. So technology like DLT in this case is not really needed because there's no lack of trust in this scenario. So why to overshoot that?
Thank you for the presentation. Is it fair to say, or to summarize, that you are actually applying modern and normal business sense in a predefined old process?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first word. I'm applying?
A modern or a normal business sense in a predefined old process. So the innovation is actually capturing or combining what you would normally do in another part of the business with an old process to support, transform an old process, let's say.
Yeah, you could see it in that way. You could see it in that way. I mean, what I was not accepting is that it was really this concept of the cycle and the lack of freedom let's say, make payments or use the functionalities that we are so familiar now. Everybody has e-banking at home. I mean, we all use that. And I mean, maybe it would be really time now to move ahead in the roaming business, because we still use some processes which are really obsolete by now. So, and if we don't make this a step, to be confronted with all the things that we will soon face. I mean, we've been talking about 5G. I was surprised we didn't talk much about BCE. I heard some statement like, oh, BCE will solve all this. Are you sure? Because, I mean, even there we have a big issue of potential over-engineering a solution which could be much simpler if you change the requirements. And to that, I would thanks very much for the view that Lars was trying to bring. Keep it simple. Do we really need all these discount agreement models with the sub-commitment and, you know, using units to calculate minutes versus... I mean, it can become very, very complex. And so think twice before going that way, because vendors will then implement solutions, but this solution will cost more. By the way, this solution is given for free to all our customers.
That was my question. Is it part of the FCH service?
It's part of the FCH service.
Yeah.
Of course, we do have our feedback on that, because, I mean, offering software as a service, it means also that we can save resources, because the old-fashioned way would imply, okay, we had another application, we also automated that. But it would also imply a lot of manual communication between the customer and our operational team. With this application, frankly speaking, we don't hear from our customer. They just do it. They just do it themselves. And of course, our people can focus more on other businesses, so doing for the customer the things which cannot be automated, like disputes and follow-ups and this kind of thing, or resolution of open position, old positions, credit collections, where the automation cannot be brought to the 100%. But in this case, it was possible, we did it, and I have to say I'm surprised about the results.
Thank you.
Okay, any final comments? In Kanasa, you haven't spoken.
I don't have any, or I don't have much questions, because they have already been clarified. But I am wondering, to which extension is this service innovative? Is this something that your competitors are offering, or this is something that you came up with on your own?
This is something that we came up by our own. As far as I'm aware of, has not been copied yet, but I know that somebody are trying.
Mm-hmm. And as a challenge or an idea, I was wondering whether, although it may not depend on you, but on the operators again, but if we have bilateral relations that are small enough in terms of invoice amounts, maybe we should agree on charge on invoicing and paying maybe quarterly instead of monthly, because I see a lot of documents going back and forth, and maybe that's not ideal. Even with this tool, which sounds very nice, I don't think our finance team should be spending time confirming 400 payments if maybe 20 of them make up for 80% of the cost or something like that. I don't know whether the clearinghouse can help with that or not. Yeah.
Well, actually, the application, as I said, allows the user to set criteria. So once you set the criteria, you don't need to click 400 times. You click once and the application is selecting the position according to your criteria. And the criteria normally are linked to the due date. So you don't want to pay for something that is due or that's not yet due, of course. We have some customers which do that. They say, well, I don't care, it will be due in a week, I just want... And the amount is not... I mean, we all know that the first 50 roaming partners account for 95% of the value of the traffic, and the rest is just the roaming tail. But, I mean, this application is already processing BCE invoices. It's very simple, but that's more on the invoicing side, because there you could say that, okay, I produce the invoice now, but it will be due by the end of the year. And the app looks to the due date, not to the issue date of the invoice. So we already have, let's say, tried to be proactive in view of what were the previous specification for BCE, where it was promised that you can invoice quarterly, weekly, daily, but then at the end, it does make sense to go that way. And now, they're restricting. Now there's a possibility to maybe just invoice either yearly or monthly. But I mean, this is, let's say, independent. Whatever will be decided for BCE 2.0, we will not have a problem in supporting into this application.
No, Mauro, that you mentioned due date, I am wondering if no one wants to pay before the due date, or at least financially it would not be optimal, then what we have here is a tool for operators to manage how late are they in paying, because if they want to pay by the due date, they just need to configure, to say yes to that criteria. So we are managing how late we are at paying.
Well, the app does even something more, because it allows you to deduct credits which hasn't been paid, which is a common practice. I mean, why do you want to pay your roaming partner who still owes you, positions that are 4 months old? There's another criteria, and the app does that. So that at the end, okay, I'm going to pay, let's say, we are now in, so the due traffic is March. So I'm going to pay March, but I'm going to subtract the invoice that you didn't pay me in December. And I just send you the difference, plus the full documentation that those two positions has been settled. The other big advantage is now is also the scalability. So as this is now used by all Comfone customers, at least within that platform, all the settlements between 250 operators are much faster. And as soon as a position is settled, is within the platform, so the other party will see it immediately. So there's also an efficiency gain in being on this platform. And sorry if I say that, but of course, being a Comfone customer.
Okay, thank you, Lions, for your questions. Any question from the audience? One question. One question.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. First one, I guess in this case you provide the bank behind the service, is right? Like an FCH service.
Yes, we are integrated. We work together with a bank. We are not a bank, but we work together with a bank.
Okay, so my question is, you already choose the bank. It's not something that you can work with different banks, right?
In theory, we can interface with any bank, because
okay.
you can just, but actually we do not need to integrate the customer bank in this solution. Mm-hmm. Because the solution is designed in a way that, let's say, we don't use the bank of the customer, besides the fact that we configure their account, because that's the final account where we will forward all the money that we collect on behalf of that customer.
So you
We
have
also have the opportunity to open customer dedicated account in case the customer wants so, to have an account, a physical account at our bank. But this is just an option of the service. It's not required.
Okay. In regards to the approval of the payment, do you have any kind of workflow to proceed with the approval, or is only?
Sorry, I didn't get.
Do you have any kind of approval process in the middle?
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
you have a kind of workflow where the payment goes to
It's-
different stages?
It's quite sophisticated one in terms of security, but we try to make it very simple for the user. So it goes up to 3 electronic signature. There is a mechanism of messaging to inform the next in the chain that he has an action to do it. That's done by other functionality of this platform, so that there's no delay. And then we are seeing that this application is not forcing our customer to a particular process flow. So we do, although the main objective was to remove this payment cycle, we do have customers that are still settle according to the monthly cycle. But that's their decision now. It's not any longer imposed by the vendor. And if you want to do that, respect that decision, because you must have a business reason to do that. We have other customers that are making daily payments, and they love it. Because, I come, I want to see, okay, I focus on this roaming partners of mine. These are normally small, middle-sized operators, so that they don't have a huge team. It's normally one person. So you see, the apps adapt to the customer needs, and that's how I believe it should always be, and not vice versa. Otherwise, are the vendors imposing a working flow to the customer? That's never nice.